Today's topic is heart. Heart is a hollow muscular pumping organ. It is situated in the thoracic cavity and in between the two lungs and is slightly tilted to the left side of the lungs. The heart for the average human will contract about 3 billion times, never resting, never stopping to take a break except for a fraction of a second between the beats. If a person lives to be about 80 years old, his or her heart will continue to beat about average 1 lakh times a day. It is believed that the heart is the first organ to become functional. Within weeks of the conception, the heart starts its mission of supplying the body with nutrients. The primary function of the heart is to pump blood through the arteries, capillaries, and veins. There is an estimated about 60,000 miles of a vessel throughout an adult body. Heart may be neurogenic or myogenic. Mammalian heart is a hollow muscular organ about the size of a fist. It is responsible for pumping blood through the blood vessel of repeated rhythmic contraction. The heart is composed of a cardiac muscle. It is an involuntary muscle and is found only within this organ. The term cardiac is related to heart and comes from the Greek word that is cardia and which is related to heart. It has a 4-chamber double pump and is located in the thoracic cavity between the lungs. Next is about the layer of the heart wall. The wall of a heart consists of 3 layers, that is epicardium, myocardium and endocardium. The outermost epicardium is the thin transparent outer layer of the heart wall and is also called the visceral layer of the serous pericardium. It consists of mesothelium and connective tissue. The middle one is myocardium, which is cardiac muscle tissue, makes up about 95% of the heart and is responsible for its pumping action. The innermost is endocardium. It is a thin layer of endothelium overlying and is a thin layer of connective tissue. Myocardium is the muscular tissue of the heart and is composed of specialized cardiac muscle cells with an ability not possessed by muscle tissue elsewhere in the body. Cardiac muscle, like other muscles, can contract, but it can also conduct electricity like nerves. The blood to the myocardium is supplied by the coronary arteries. If these arteries are occluded by atherosclerosis or by thrombosis, this can lead to angina pectoris or myocardial infarction due to ischemia, that is, lack of oxygen. Failure of this heart to contract properly is termed as heart failure, generally leading to fluid retention, edema, pulmonary edema, renal efficiency, hepatomegaly, and a shortened life expectancy and decreased quality of life. Next is about pericardium. It is a thick membranous sac that surrounds the heart. It protects and lubricates the heart. There are 2 layers of pericardium. One is fibrous pericardium and the another one is serous pericardium. The serous pericardium is divided into 2 layers. In between these 2 layers there is a space called a pericardial cavity. Next is about epicardium. It is the layer of the heart and is the visceral layer and is also known as the epicardium. This is the innermost layer and consists of only connective tissue. Next is about the heart chambers. It has 4 chambers, 2 atrium and 2 ventricles. 2 atrium are smaller with thin wall while the ventricles are larger with much stronger. Next is about the atrium. There are 2 arteries on either side of the heart. On the right side of the atrium, which holds blood that needs oxygen. The left atrium holds that blood which has been oxygenated and is ready to be sent to the body. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood from the superior vena cava, that is, from head, forelimb, and upper part of the chest, and inferior vena cava from lower part of the trunk or hind limbs. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the left and right pulmonary veins. Next is about ventricles. It is an heart chamber which collects blood from an atrium and pump it out of the heart. There are two ventricles. The right ventricle, which pumps blood into the pulmonary circulation for the lungs, and the left ventricles, which pumps blood into the circulatory system of the rest of the body. So, ventricles have thicker wall than the atria and thus can create the higher blood pressure. Comparing the left and right ventricle, the left ventricle have thicker wall because it needs to pump blood to the whole body. This leads to the common misconception that the heart lies on the left side of the body. Next is about septum. It is the interventricular septum and is the stout wall which separates the lower chamber of the heart from one another. The ventricular septum is directed backward and to the right and is curved towards the right ventricle. The greater portion of it is thick and muscular and constitutes the muscular ventricular septum. Its upper and posterior part, which separates the thoracic vestibule from the lower part of the right atrium, whereas the upper part of the right ventricle is thin and fibrous and is termed the membranous vestibular septum. Next, heart has four valves. The atrioventricular valves allow blood to pass from the artery to the ventricles, and the semilunar valve allows blood to pass out from the heart, and the tricuspid valve which allows blood to flow from right atrium to right ventricle. It prevents the backflow of the blood from the ventricle to the atrium. When blood is pumped out of the ventricle, bicuspid valve opens to allow blood to pass from the left atrium to the left ventricle. Pulmonary valves open to allow blood to the pumped from the heart to the lungs through the pulmonary artery, and the aortic valve opens to flow blood to leave from the left ventricle to the aorta. So, when the heart begins to contract, the heart enters a phase called systole and the atrium pushes blood in the ventricles. Then the ventricles begin to contract and blood pressure inside the heart rises. When the ventricular pressure exceeds the pressure in the atrium, the tricuspid valve snaps shut. The left AP valve is also called the bicuspid valve because it has two flaps. It is also known as mitral valve. This valve prevents blood in the left ventricle from flowing into the left atrium. As it is on the left side of the heart, it must cope with a lot of strain and pressure. There are two remaining valves about the semilunar valves. They have flaps that resembles half moon. The pulmonary semilunar valve sits between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk, and the aortic semilunar valve sits between the ventricle and the aorta. So, this is all about heart valves. Next, about its circulation. When the ventricles contract, pressure builds up within the chamber. The semilunar valves open when pressure in the ventricles exceeds. The pressure in the arteries permits release of blood from the ventricles into the pulmonary trunk and aorta. As the ventricles relax, blood starts to flow back towards the heart. This flow back blood causing the semilunar valves to close tightly. So, there is no valves regarding the junction between the vena cava and the right atrium or the pulmonary veins and the left atrium. Thus, as the atria contracts, a small amount of blood does flow backward from the atria into the vessels. The heart has actually two separate pumps. The left side pumps blood to the body and the right side pumps to the lungs. Each side has a atrium and the ventricles. The left atrium receives oxygenated blood from the lungs and the left ventricles receive blood to the aorta. From the aorta to the organ through the body except lungs. The right atrium receives deoxygenated blood returning from the systemic circulation. Blood pumps to the right ventricle into the pulmonary trunk that carry blood to the right and left lungs. Next, coronary or cardiac circulation is the circulation of blood in the blood vessel of the heart muscle. The vessel that delivers oxygen-rich blood to the myocardium is known as coronary artery. The vessels that remove the deoxygenated blood from the heart muscle is known as coronary veins. The coronary artery supply the blood to the heart muscle is about 200 ml per minute. These arteries have a very small diameter and may become blocked, producing a heart attack. A myocardial infarction is also known as heart attack, which occurs when a portion of the heart muscle dies due to lack of oxygen. If a coronary artery becomes partially blocked, the individual may often suffer from angina pectoris, which is characterized by a radiating pain in the left arm. When a coronary artery is completely blocked, a heart attack may occur. The heart is made up of a cardiac muscle. It contains a network of specialized cardiac muscle fiber called a autorhythmic fiber because they are self-excitable. Autorhythmic fiber repeatedly generate actions potential that trigger heart contraction. They continue to stimulate a heart to beat even after it is removed from the body. The conduction system ensures that the chambers of the heart conduct is a coordinate manner. The component of the conduction system are the SA node, that is sinoatrial node, and a AB node, that is atrioventricular node, and a bundle of His and Purkinje fibers. Cardiac action potentials normally begin in the SA node and initiating cardiac action potentials that cause a contraction of the heart, which is located in the right atrial wall. Next, the action potential from the SA node propagates throughout both atria via a gap junction. Following the action potential, the atria contracts. The SA node can generate the maximum number of action potential, that is about 70 to 75 per minute, and is responsible for the initiating and maintaining the rhythmic contractile activity of the heart. Therefore, it is called the pacemaker. Our heart normally beats 70 to 75 times in a minute. Average, that is 72 beats per minute. If the SA node fails to work properly, the heart still remains beats due to impulses generated by the AB node, but the beat is slower, that is 40 to 60 beats per minute. To treat this condition, it is possible to implant an artificial pacemaker which automatically gives an electric stimulation to the every heart, that is 0.8 per second. By conducting along atrial muscle fiber, the action potential reaches the AB node, which is located in the interatrial septum. From the AB node, the action potential enters the bundle of His, also known as atrioventricular bundle. This bundle is the only site where action potential can move from the atria to the ventricles. At the interventricular septum between the ventricles, it divides to form the right and left ventricle branches that travel down the septum. The Purkinje fiber are small terminal fibers that extends from the bundle of His and can spread throughout the ventricular myocardium and is like small wings of a tree branch. The Purkinje fiber rapidly conduct the action potential beginning at the apex of the heart upward to the remaining of the ventricular myocardium. So, let's have some summary of the conducting system of the heart and spread of cardiac excitation. And action potential initiates at the SA node first and spread throughout both arteria. Its spread is facilitated by two specialized arterial conduction pathways, the interatrial and the internodal pathways. The AV node is the only point where an action potential can spread from the atria to the ventricles. From the AB node, the action potential spreads rapidly throughout the ventricles and accelerated by a specialized ventricular conduction system which consists of the bundle of His and Purkinje's fiber. Next is about heartbeat. It is the spontaneous rhythmic contraction and relaxation of the heart to pump out and receive blood to and from the body. When the heart beats, first two atria contract, then two ventricles contract, then all chambers relaxed. The heart contracts are about 72 times a minute and each heartbeat lasts about 0.8 seconds. Next is about the intrinsic control of heartbeat. Though human heart is a myogenic heart, this type of heart does not require outside stimulation. So, the rhythmical contraction of the atria and the ventricle is due to the intrinsic contraction system of the heart. The SA node initiates heartbeat and automatically sends out cardiac action potential at every 0.8 seconds. This causes the atria to contract. The impulses reach the AB node and there is a slight delay that allows the atria to finish their contraction before the ventricles begin their contraction. The signal for the ventricle to contract travels from the AV node through the bundle of His to the numerous Purkinje fiber. The bundle of His and the Purkinje fibers causes the ventricle to contract. So this is all about the intrinsic control of heartbeat. Next is about the extrinsic control of heartbeat. Heartbeat at a fixed rate due to inherent property of the fibers of SA node. But it can be controlled by neural signals, that is from brain and hormones. Next is about nervous regulation, that is the center of heartbeat regulation in the brain is medulla oblongata. The neural signal through the sympathetic nerve can increase the rate of heartbeat, the strength of ventricular contraction and thereby the cardiac output. On the other hand, parasympathetic neural signal decreases the rate of heartbeat. It can act on the speed of conduction of action potential and thereby the cardiac output. Next is about hormonal regulation of heartbeat. We all know that thyroxine secreted by thyroid gland and is increases heartbeat indirectly by increasing basal metabolic rate because which requires more oxygen. Epinephrine and norepinephrine secreted by the adrenal medulla and is also have a role in regulation. Epinephrine increases the heartbeat during an emergency, whereas norepinephrine increases heartbeat under normal condition. So this is all about the intrinsic and extrinsic control of heartbeat. Next is about ECG. ECG is a electrocardiogram. The body is a good conductor of electricity. Body fluids contain ions that conduct electrical currents. Therefore, as action potentials propagate through the heart, they generate electrical current that can be detected at the surface of the body. An electrocardiogram is a recording of action potential produced by the heart muscle fiber during each heartbeat. The instrument used to record the changes is an electrocardiograph. The electrocardiogram can measure the rate and the rhythm of the heartbeat as well as provide indirect evidence of blood flow to the heart muscle. Next, when an electrocardiogram is being taken, electrodes placed on the skin are connected by wire of an instrument that detects the heart's electric signal. Each cardiac cycle produces three distinct ECG waves, which is designated as P, QRS and T. The different waves that comprises the ECG and represents the sequence of depolarization and repolarization of the atria and the ventricles. The first wave called the P wave It is a small upward deflection of the ECG. The P wave represents arterial depolarization, which spreads from the SA node throughout the atria and is usually 80 to 100 milliseconds in duration. The second wave is QRS complex, which indicates the onset of contraction of the ventricles. It represents rapid ventricular depolarization as the action potential spreads into the ventricles. And then the Q wave is the first downward reflection after P wave. The R wave is the first upward deflection after Q wave. The S wave is the first downward deflection after the R wave. Next is about third wave, which is called T wave. It indicates ventricular repolarization and occurs just as the ventricles are starting to relax. The T wave is smaller and wider than the QRS complex because repolarization occurs more slowly than depolarization. And then the PR interval includes the P wave and the PR segment. The PR segment represents the time taken by the AB node to conduct the impulse. The PR interval shortens at high heart rate, that is due to exercise, and increases at lower heart rate, that is increases during sleep. And ST segment, which represents the time gap between depolarization and repolarization in the ventricles. This segment lies between QRS and T. Next is about QT interval. It is measured from the beginning of the QRS complex of the end of the T wave and represents the time between the activation of the electrical activity in the ventricles and their return to their resting state. So, in ECG analysis, the size of the waves can provide clues to abnormalities. Larger P waves indicates the enlargement of the atrium. An enlarged Q wave may indicate a myocardial infarction, and an enlarged R wave generally indicates enlarged ventricles. The T wave is flatter than normal when the heart muscle is receiving insufficient oxygen, as for example in coronary artery diseases. The T wave may be elevated in hyperkalemia or a high level of potassium level. Next is about cardiac cycle. It is a cycle of event which occur in a single heartbeat. It refers to the repeating patterns of contracting and relaxation of heart. The contraction of the heart is called systole and the relaxation of the heart is called diastole. A cardiac cycle consists of systole and diastole of the atria plus systole and diastole of the ventricles. When heart rate is 75 beats per minute, a cardiac cycle takes about 0.8 seconds. To examine and correlate the event takes place during a cardiac cycle. Let us begin with arterial systole. During arterial systole, the arterial contract. At the same time, the ventricles are relaxed. Arterial depolarization causes arterial systole. As the arteria contracts, they exert pressure on the blood within, which forces through the open AB valves in the ventricles. It has been estimated that the ventricles are about 80% filled with blood even before the arteria contract. The arterial systole contributes a final 25 ml of blood of the volume, which is already in each ventricle about 105 ml. The end of arterial systole is also the end of the ventricular diastole. Thus, each ventricle contains about 130 ml at the end of its relaxation period, that is at the stage of diastole. This blood volume is called the end diastolic volume. The next is about the ventricular systole. When the contraction of ventricles occur, immediately after arterial systole, the pressure of the ventricles rises and closes the AB valves and prevents blood from returning to the arteria. For about 0.05 seconds, both the SL and AB nodes are closed. This is the period of isobolumetric contraction. When the pressure inside the chamber rises further, both the SL valves open. At this point, ejection of blood from the heart begins. This period when the SL valves are open is ventricular ejection. The left ventricle ejects about 70 ml of blood into the aorta, and the right ventricle ejects the same volume of blood through the pulmonary trunk. The volume remaining in each ventricle at the end of the systole is about 60 ml, and it is called as end systolic volume. Next is about relaxation period. During the relaxation period, which lasts about 0.4 second, the arteria and the ventricles both are at the time relaxed stage. As the ventricles relax, pressure within the chamber falls, and blood in the aorta and the pulmonary trunk begins to flow backward towards the region of lower pressure of the ventricles. Backflowing blood closes the SL valves. After the SL valve closes, there is a brief interval when ventricular blood volume does not change because all four valves are closed. This is the period of isovolumetric relaxation, when ventricular pressure drops below atrial pressure. The AV valves open and ventricular filling begins. At the end of the relaxation period, the ventricles are about third quarter full. The P wave appears in the ECG, signaling the start of another cardiac cycle. So this is all about the cardiac cycle. Next is about heart sound. During each cardiac cycle, there are 4 heart sounds. But in a normal heart, only the first and second heart sound are loud, enough to be heard through a stethoscope. So, the first heart sound is low pitched, soft and relatively long, sounding like a love. The second heart sound has a higher pitch and is shorter and sharper, sounding like a dub. Thus, one normally hears lub dub, lub dub, lub dub. The first sound is associated with exposure of the AB valves, whereas the second sound is associated with the closure of the semilunar valves. The first sound is thus heard when the ventricles contracted systole, and the second sound is heard when the ventricles relaxed at the beginning of the diastole. Opening of the valves does not produce any sound. So this is all about the heart sound. So this is all about heart. Today I have tried to describe about the layers of the heart, chambers of the heart and its valves and its cardiac conduction system and its circulatory system, ECG, heartbeat, cardiac cycle, and lastly about the heart sound. So this is all for today. Thank you for watching this video.